Hello and welcome to Godly Play. Come, join the circle. There's lots of room. There's room for you and your friends, people in your family. Everyone's welcome to join. Take a minute to get ready, settle your body, get your eyes ready, your ears ready, and your heart. So here we are in the circle of the church year, the church calendar, and we are in the time of the color purple, the season of Lent, the time that we're preparing for the coming of a king and his going and his coming again. We're getting ready for the mystery of Easter. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th Sunday in the season of Lent. There was once someone who did such amazing things and said such wonderful things that people began to follow him. And they wanted to know who he was. And they couldn't help themselves, they just had to ask. And one of the times when they asked, he said, "I am the light." Let's enjoy the light. I see the love of God in you, the light of Christ come shining through, and I am blessed to be with you, O holy child of God. And this light didn't stay in that one place and in that one time. So he changed the light, so it can be in all places and in all times. So it can be with us here today in our Godly Play circle, and after we're finished, it can go with us into the week. So watch as I change the light. Ooh, can you see it? Got the windows open. It's being blown all through the room. Maybe all the way up to where you are. Ready for a story? This is the season of Lent, a time for the color purple. And in the beginning, there was a baby. Mary was chosen by God to be the mother of God. And the Word was born, a wordless child. As the baby looked up into the faces of the mother Mary and the father Joseph, he could already see the cross. The mother Mary and the father Joseph kept the baby close. They kept the baby warm, and they gave the baby everything the baby needed. And so the baby grew. And became a boy. And when Jesus was about 12 years old, he and Mother Mary and the Father Joseph and many of the other people from the town of Nazareth where they lived went up to the great city of Jerusalem to celebrate one of the high holy days. And when the celebration was over, the people of Nazareth left through the great high gate on their road back to Nazareth. And as they were traveling, Mary and Joseph looked for Jesus, and they couldn't find him anywhere. They thought that he was playing with the other children from the town of Nazareth, but he was nowhere to be found. They hurried back to the city of Jerusalem, entered in through the great gates, and searched in the dark and narrow streets. They searched in the place where they bought food for the journey. They searched in the place where they had stayed overnight. They could find him nowhere. They searched for 3 days and 3 nights. And finally they went to the temple, and they found Jesus there, talking with the rabbis and the priests. And they were listening to him because he knew so much. And Jesus was listening to them because he wanted to learn more. And Mary and Joseph asked Jesus the question that has no answer. Why did you do this? And Jesus said, did you not know I would be in my Father's house? They did not understand. Joseph's carpenter shop was in Nazareth. What could he mean? They didn't understand, but they didn't forget. The boy Jesus grew and became a man. And when he was about 30 years old, he went down to the River Jordan where his cousin John was baptizing people. You can just see the back of John's head here, his hair sticking out everywhere. John was a wild man. And Jesus waded out into the waters of the River Jordan until he was face to face with John and said, baptize me. Well, John looked at Jesus as if for the first time. Suddenly he knew that he was the Messiah, the one that was promised. And John said, you are the Messiah. You must baptize me. But Jesus said, no. It is written that you would come before me to prepare the way. Baptize me. Jesus went down into the darkness and chaos of the waters. And as John lifted him back up, people who were there at the time said that they saw a dove descend from heaven to come very close to Jesus. And others who were there said they heard a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. After he was baptized, Jesus went across the River Jordan and into the desert. He wanted to find out more about who he was and what his work was going to be. Jesus stayed in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. There was very little to eat or drink. And then one day he heard a voice. Why don't you take one of those stones over there and turn it into some bread so you can have something to eat? Jesus said, no, real humans don't need just bread to eat. Then suddenly it was as if Jesus was standing on the top of the high temple in Jerusalem. The voice came back. Why don't you jump and see if God sends his angels to catch you before you crash on the stones below? Jesus said, no, we don't need to test God. And then, suddenly, it was as if all the kingdoms of the world were spread out before Jesus. The voice came back, saying, I will make you king over all these kingdoms if you will follow me. And Jesus said, no, I am to be a king, but not that kind of king. And the voice went away. And Jesus was in the desert. And he left and crossed the River Jordan and began to do his work. But what would his work be? Oh, we go. Jesus' work was to come very close to people, especially to people that no one else wanted to come close to. Here, can you see how close Jesus has come to this blind man? He's even got his fingers on his eyes. When Jesus came close to people, they changed. They could see things that they never saw before. They could do things that they could never do before. They became well. Jesus also taught and told parables. And then Jesus knew that he had to turn into a parable, so he turned towards Jerusalem for the last time. It was Passover, and the city of Jerusalem was filled with people from many lands. People thought that Jesus was coming to be a king, but they weren't paying attention. Jesus didn't come into Jerusalem on a great white horse. He wasn't carried by soldiers. Jesus came in on a donkey, and it wasn't even his. It was borrowed. Still, on that Sunday, as Jesus entered Jerusalem, people waved palm branches, which was a sign of a king. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Jesus went to the temple to teach. One of the days when he was there, he said, "Look at that old woman over there. She's going to put something in the money box. Listen. Do you hear anything?" Nothing. That's because she put in the tiniest coin that there is. But what she put in was all she had. And then Jesus said, "Look, here comes a rich man. He's brought so much money to put into the money box that he needs people to help him carry it. Listen to the clanging and ringing of all those coins as they're emptied into the money box." Now I wonder, who gave more? The rich man or the old woman? Some people said the rich man. Some people said the old woman. In the evenings, Jesus and the 12 would go out of Jerusalem to stay at the Mount of Olives outside the city. People watched and were whispering that the Mount of Olives was the place where the angels were supposed to come down and form an army to drive out the Roman soldiers. As Jesus taught in the temple guards noticed how the crowds were growing around Jesus, and they said, "On Thursday, we will take him." But on Thursday, Jesus did not go to the temple. They searched everywhere and could not find him. And on Thursday night, Jesus and the 12 went quietly through the dark, narrow streets of Jerusalem to a house, climbed the stairs to an upper room, and had their Last Supper together. And after everyone had had everything they wanted to eat, Jesus took some bread and gave thanks to God, and then said something like, "Whenever you eat this bread in this way, I will be there." And then he took a cup of wine and gave thanks to God and shared it with his disciples and said, "Whenever you share this cup, I will be with you." Then Judas got up quickly and left the room. Jesus and the other disciples sang a hymn, and then they went down out of the city up to the Mount of Olives, and Jesus went into the Garden of Gethsemane to pray. When Jesus came out of the garden and rejoined the disciples, Judas suddenly burst out of the darkness and greeted Jesus. This was a sign to the temple guards, and the temple guards rushed out of the darkness and seized Jesus and took him away into the darkness. And the rest of the 12 scattered into the night. Well, I wonder what part of this story you liked today, and what part was most important. I wonder where you found yourself in the story today. I wonder if there's something you have at your house that you could bring to tell more about this story. Go ahead. Bring something. Tell the people that you're with what it means for the story. And the story continues. But now it's time for the blessing. The Lord bless you and watch over you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look kindly on you and give you peace. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. See you next week.